Welcome to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. And now here's your host, Wade T. Lightheart.
What if you could double your energy naturally without caffeine or stimulants in just 3 short months? It's not only possible, you can transform every aspect of your health if you follow the 12-week blueprint we've created for you in the Awesome Health System. The Awesome Health System is a free course where you receive a daily video lesson spanning the most cutting-edge secrets for air, water, exercise, sunshine, optimizers, mindset, and education. It's something most companies would charge hundreds of dollars for, yet you get it for free when you go to bioptimizers.com. To access your course, register to download the PDF report called 3 Phases of Bioptimization, which gets you access to the report and daily access to the first lesson in the 12-week, 84-day Awesome Health course.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Wade T. Lightheart from Bioptimizers with another edition of the Awesome Health Podcast. And today we're going to talk about quantum energy, frequencies, and your health. What is quantum energy? What does frequency have to do with health? And how is your health affected by it? We're going to dive into all those topics today. And today, to join us, we have none other than Rob Rene, who grew up as a gifted athlete and runner with a keen interest in health and using food and nutrients to fuel his body. After getting hit by a truck and getting thrown 36 feet and nearly losing his life and losing his dream of becoming a professional runner, Rob struggled for years with addiction and a lack of a clear direction. Through God's guidance, he became a researcher on the takeover of our medical system frequencies and quantum energy. Through this research, he founded the quantum energy solutions that are helping people get off addictive, big pharma medications. He founded QE Strong, a company dedicated to utilizing unique, all-natural solutions to improve people's health, a service greatly needed in our ever-increasing overweight and unhealthy community we find in 2023. Rob, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here, Wade. What a pleasure to meet you officially, and just the things that you and Matt have built within your organization are just phenomenal. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir for a lot of the things that I'm excited about, but I'm excited to talk a little bit about quantum energy and frequencies and a little side stuff that you guys aren't digging in deep to yet. So it's exciting stuff.
Thanks so much for that. And before we get into the quantum energy side of the situation, let's go into your story a little bit.
Yeah. Sounds
good. We all use a terminology. I think it's in speak is like, oh, I got hit by a truck, or I don't want to get hit by a truck, or he hits like a truck. But you actually know the derivative of all that language. You've actually been hit by a truck, so you know what a truck hits like. Somehow you survived. So how did you get yourself into a situation? What led up to the situation where you get hit by a truck, and what was this transformative process? Because it seems like it was a hard road back.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those things that was, I was on the fast track to being my goal in life literally was to be a professional runner. So when I was young, like I mentioned in the bio a little bit about, one of the keys to my success in running was learning how to fuel your body appropriately, right? And so I think I was really early. I wrote a book called Eat to Win. It was just an amazing book, and it talked about all the nutrients and how it fuels your body. And I really saw that as helped me with my early success in running. And I obviously had some God-given talent, and I got a full ride running scholarship to a Division I school. And I had just made the U.S. junior team, so I was a miler.
You ran the mile?
Yeah, I ran cross country and track, but the mile was my specialty, and it literally just got second in the country in a national competition to make the U.S. junior team. The U.S. junior team is like 19 years and younger. And so, I was super competitive, and then we went on an international tour, and I won one of those races. So I beat the guy that had beaten me, and I was just so excited, and my coaches were all excited, and they, based upon my progression as a runner, they thought I'd be a really fast miler, like a 3:48 miler, which was back then, was world record type. So
how fast were you running a mile back and when was this approximately?
Yeah, so that was it was in 90, let's see, like 91, 92. And I ran a 4:05 mile. Wow. I ran actually 3:48, 1500 is what it was instead of a mile, but you translate that to the mile. It was like a 4:05 mile. That's fast. When I got hit. And so that next winter is what happened is I was out training. I was in Utah. BYU was the school that I'd gotten the scholarship for. And I went to that school not because I was of Mormon or of the LDS faith, but I wanted to be a professional runner. And they had produced 5 professional runners from that school before me going there. So I'm like, okay, these guys know how to not only produce a runner, but they can make money after. And so that was my big goal. So I was excited. I went there. I just made the U.S. junior team and things were going super well. I was out on a long training run with a buddy and it was cold in the winter. So we had our hats on and our clothes, long clothing, but I had a bloody nose because it was really dry in Utah. And so I was like, man, should we go back? And he's like, no, let's just continue. So I was like, okay, we need to get our run in anyway. So we ended up trying to finish our run. And we were out on this desolate backcountry road. And there was a little clearing in the road. And my buddy and I were running single file. I was running behind him. We ran out. No, actually, he was behind me. We ran out to this little clearing in the road. And a 4x4 truck was coming up behind us. And we didn't hear it. At least I didn't hear it. I'd had my hat on with my things on. My buddy saw it somehow and jumped into the ditch right beside us and yelled my name. And I had enough time to just literally turn around and look at it. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get hit!" And the truck slid into me and on the ice on the road. And hit my hip and it literally threw me 36 feet. So I went from, running to turn around, see I'm going to get hit and had nowhere to go. And it, threw me 36 feet and I landed on my face. So this whole side of my face was just road rash. I'd landed straight on it and I was unconscious. And then remember that bloody nose I had earlier in the run, that had clogged my throat. So not only was I laying on the ground unconscious, my throat was clogged, and so I couldn't breathe. So I was within a few minutes of probably expiring, and thank God. I think it literally was a God thing. In my opinion, is that my friend knew that I had that bloody nose and could tell I wasn't breathing, and literally reached in and unclogged my throat. And because if I wouldn't have had been able to breathe, it took the paramedics 12 plus minutes to get there. So I would have died, on the side of the road without my buddy there. So, God had me on this earth for a reason. I really honestly feel that. And, but I tried to make a comeback after that. It was really tough. I broke my pelvis in multiple places and it was a really, really difficult road back. And I'd lost my goal in life, right? To be a professional runner. That was everything that I would train to be. And I went through a really difficult period of time. And I ended up getting married and trying to just forget about, I couldn't even be near running. I couldn't go to a track meet. I couldn't watch like the Boston Marathon on TV or anything like that, just because it was so important to me at the time that it took me years to recover from just the mental it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to be that. And then I went into the work profession and started working and I got addicted to alcohol and with my sales profession. And I think that took me down a big spiral in the respect that I wasn't over the top drunk. It was a habit. It was one of those things where I'd take clients out to dinner. We'd have a few drinks and you're supposed to entertain them. So we'd take them out to a bar after and we'd drink a few more drinks. And then we do the next day, we do it over again. And I travel a lot and it just became a habit, and a habit that I continued on for for probably 20 some years. It was just really unhealthy. I became heavy, right? With all that unhealthy substance in my body. I didn't eat very well, and I just gained a ton of weight. And 4.5 years ago, before the pandemic, I just decided, okay, this is not me. And I did stop drinking. So that was great. I finally got to the point where I realized that this isn't healthy. But then I'd lost my job with the pandemic. So with being in the sales position, it was a traveling job where I was traveling everywhere. And with the pandemic, it was like, you can't go anywhere, right? So all the salespeople, they reduced our sales staff by a really large number. And it was just a huge blessing. It was like, I'm so glad that happened, because through that process, I became aware of a lot of the things that are going on in our world. And that's what the kind of the reference to my research into the medical field and industry is. As I was getting healthy, I was trying to get myself healthy. So I got off alcohol without help. I didn't do a 12-step program or anything. I just said, I'm going to do this by myself. I'm going to trust in the Lord that he can help me, and I'm going to get healthy. And I just started doing research. I started understanding how we're being censored in a lot of ways in our country. And I've found out that our medical system has been really taken over, in my opinion, and from the early 1900s with the Flexner report and things that you probably are pretty familiar with, Wade, but the all natural health doctors back in the early 1900s, we had about 50% of our doctors were all natural health doctors, right, back then. And they changed the medical system and the way that they're training our medical schools. And they really vilified all those all natural doctors. And so that became a really big passion of mine, is what the heck is going on with our health system and why. And then my brother was had a podcast, and I was helping him on the back end of his podcast. That was a faith-based podcast. And I said, well, let's start an e-commerce company where we can help your community. So I'm gonna go craft some supplements, like the amazing supplements that you guys have. That was kind of my initial vision, was I'm gonna go create some really cool formulas that are really gonna help this community. And so I went and researched some people to help me do these supplements. And through that process, he's like, have you ever heard of quantum energy? And I'm like, nope, never heard of quantum energy. So we started down this path. He introduced me to this organization who built these solutions, and it's just been amazing last few years, because I dug into what quantum energy is. I researched a lot about the human body, how our the body is made up of energy, right, and it interacts with those frequencies. And these quantum energy solutions that I was led to are just transformative. They're really helping people in a big way. And our heart is to help people, get off of those big pharma drugs. So anyway, that's kind of a long span from my accident to how I got to doing what I'm doing now was that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So before we go into quantum energy and what it is, were you using any pain medications to kind of mitigate some of the damage of your life?
Yeah, it's part of that process was brutal, right? So the recovery period was long, and I ended up not getting addicted to anything, thank goodness, from a pain perspective. But my brother had two of his best friends, commit suicide from opioid addiction. And so I was really aware of that, thank goodness, right? So I got off of those drugs as soon as I could. But we went through that pain and suffering of seeing people who are just like really awesome professional people, and people that you would never even think that could ever get addicted to a pain pill. And they got addicted to it and got so addicted that it ruined their entire life. And then they ended up committing suicide, right? So very, very painful.
I think a lot of people, or it's kind of like a couple of silent issues that are occurring inside of society, and that is the prescription of benzos in regards to anxiety and sleep issues, and the prescription of opioid-based painkillers.
Yeah.
In both of those cases, what a lot of people don't recognize, I think, is first off, initially they're very effective in dealing with the initial problem. However, when you try to wean off of them, that is where the problem becomes. And when people talk about addiction, people think of people being addicted to the euphoria or the rush of perhaps a drug. What they don't understand about addiction is oftentimes people stay addicted to these drugs because the coming off them is so difficult and so painful. So the process of coming off is the primary issue. And then there's the stuff on the black market that starts the issue, and the drivingness of addiction. And we're very passionate about addressing addiction issues at Bioptimizers, and understanding that there is a certain percentage of the population that is predisposed to be more addictive to various substances or others. And so you can be lucky or not lucky. And there's no rhyme or reason. It's not about whether you're from a good family, a bad family. It's not whether you're successful or not successful, or an athlete or a business person. These are predisposed tendencies that happen. And you don't know if you're the person that can take one of these products and become addicted relatively quickly. And it's a national crisis. I know opioid addictions have killed over 50,000 people a year annually. Then there's the benzos. And these are some of the most prescribed medicines out there. And
right.
First caution to folks, and I'm not here to give medical advice. We don't give medical advice or doctor voice, but I'll give you an example. I went to an easy surgery not that long ago. It's a minor thing. And one of the options was to be given an opioid-based painkiller. And I was like, are you crazy? That's literally what I said. That's literally what I said to the medical attendants. I'm like, I'm not taking this for any reason. In fact, I took no painkillers, and I actually took no antibiotics either, because I'm not recommending these things for people. I'm not suggesting people don't take antibiotics or don't take painkillers or don't take medicine. But what I am suggesting is asking questions and getting second and third opinions from professionals about the potential consequences of engaging in one of these very potent and powerful medicines. So
I think that's exactly right. And asking your own questions and doing your own research is almost imperative today, right? It's like the medical profession. I love my doctors, right? I love my nurses. It's just they're trained on a specific narrow problem, an issue typically, right? And so you have to go, if it's your health, you have to go in and ask those questions. You have to do your own research outside of what they're telling you to do, and use it, like what you said. That's so smart, right? Get a second and third opinion, not just one, and get one from a naturopath, right? Somebody that knows the body inside and out from that perspective, and then make your decisions, based on that.
Yeah. So some questions are, what are the risks involved? What is the upside of the medication? What is the downside? What are the potential contraindications? Is there any tendency for people to become addicted to this behavior? And what are the associated side effects? And how are they relative to my individual genetics? And if your doctor can't answer all of those questions concisely, don't do it. Find another doctor. And what a lot of people don't recognize is the doctor is not there to be the de facto authority to direct your life. They are a professional offering an opinion based on their expertise. But no one is an expert on your own health, because you're the one that has to carry your body around.
That's right. Yeah,
so
that's right.
One needs to recognize that there's variance in opinions, and you want to get 2 or 3 opinions before you go ahead and do anything.
Right.
And number 2, you want to ask questions and get those answers resolved and before moving forward to give yourself the best chance. Not saying that some of those things can't be used at certain points in times, but I think in a lot of cases, you can have alternative solutions that are more successful. So, which leads us to the next thing. So, okay. there's all this talk about quantum energy. And I sometimes am hesitant to use the term. I've been to a lot of holistic health festivals.
Right.
And I've seen what, quote unquote, poorly educated people advocating a very scientific sounding theory without full understanding of what quantum is.
Right.
So, what is quantum in your opinion, and what is quantum energy? And then the third piece is, how does this relate to a person's health?
Yeah, that's actually an amazing question, and we're probably using the term to help connect people with what we believe how it's helping people. So people have everybody has a different definition of what quantum energy is. And so we just use that term as the way to try to bridge the gap between this isn't a normal solution, and it's not just a simple frequency. So we call it a quantum energy solution because what we do is we create a healthy frequency on a skin patch, and then we include intentions on the skin patch, and we include Bible verses on the actual message when we're encoding the skin patch. So that's how we're implementing our solution. And it's such a different solution. The closest term that we could find that people could connect with was quantum energy. And so whether or not it's the proper definition for our solution is, up to debate. But what we see quantum energy is really an amazing solution that, when people understand the human body and how it's made up and how it does interact with external entities like frequencies, that then people start understanding, okay, this is something different than I'm used to. And so we use quantum energy just as a term that a lot of people have heard of before. So it's not as scary and as different than what they may have, if I go and say, hey, we've got this intention-based frequency product that helps you relieve pain, they would say, what the heck is that? So if I say quantum energy, then they're like, okay, I've heard of that before. Not sure what it is, but at least I've heard of it before. So does that make sense?
So to define quantum, how would you define quantum energy relative to the products that you're advocating?
Yeah, so the way I define it related to our specific product is it's a frequency that's using connecting to the energy system in your body, so to help you with your medical issue. So if it's like our marquee product is a pain relief product, it's because when you're hurting, when you're hurting, right? And if you apply our solution, and it's the easiest way for us to show you and showcase that our product works, because you can tell, it's like, okay, all of a sudden, now I have no pain. And so we start with that almost always because it's a black and white thing. It's like, okay, I had pain and now I've applied this skin patch to my body, and within a few minutes or hour or however long it takes for it to help you, you can say, oh my gosh, I am no longer in pain. So it's really a kind of a black and white thing. We have solutions like immune boost and other things that it's, how do you know if it's boosting your immune system? It's just like you take a pill, right? It's like, how do you know that that's boosting your immune system? It's like, well, I hope it is, but you're not really sure it is. So that's one of the things that we do with our pain product. So that's the way I kind of to determine quantum energy, at least to describe it, is it's a frequency solution that's we coded onto the ink of our patch that's communicating with the energy system in your body, aka quantum energy.
How does the technology interact with the energy system of the body, and what energy systems is it dealing with?
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip: supercharge your protein shake. Everyone knows protein shakes are a great way to sneak in extra protein, build more muscle, even replace meals and burn more fat. The problem is the highest quality protein typically absorbs at around 40%. One way to fix this and dramatically increase how quickly and effective your protein shake digests is to add 2 to 3 capsules of Masszymes into your shake. One research study showed that pre-digested protein during a meal increased muscle growth significantly. To take advantage of this, just blend the open capsules into your shake, and within 15 minutes or less, the enzymes will have begun to break down the protein into amino acids. This can make your shakes at least 2 to 3 times more potent. Some people do this and sip on their shake while lifting to provide their muscles with a steady stream of amino acids during their workout. To save 10% on Masszymes, use the code SHAKE10, that's SHAKE10, at masszymes.com. That's SHAKE10 at masszymes.com.
So it's good question. I am not a scientific doctor either, but just the way it's been explained to me is, when you apply these little skin patches, I'll show you what they are. For these skin patches, when we encode them, this is literally just a small little patch. And you take this little patch, and on the ink of this patch is where the frequency is stored. So literally just put the patch on your body, and then it's connected, to my body just with the sticker. But what's happening is the ink has the frequency on it that's connecting to my energy system. So it's not going inside my body like an epidermal patch. It's just the frequencies connecting to the energy system in my body. And we even have some EEG technologies, or at least we've done some analysis with EEG solutions. Like this is the Muse one where you put it on your head and it measures the brain wave activity in your brain. And it shows when we've done the studies with this, people with the EEG helmets on, they're the more sophisticated one with the helmets that read your brain waves. And when they apply the solution to them, you can see the difference in the brain activity. When they're in pain without our product, the brain activity is like this. It's really disturbed. So they're having an issue, and their brain is having a problem dealing with, or their body is having a problem with that issue, and the brain is showing that. Then you introduce our product, and it smooths out that brain activity, because what it's doing is interacting between your pain and your brain. And it's smoothing out that, so it's relieving that pain, and your body's can feel it, and then you don't have that distraction. As you know, when people are in pain, they have a harder time thinking, they have a harder time concentrating, they have a harder time just because their brain is busy, and it's trying to their body's trying to deal with that pain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out a couple of questions that come up to mind. So the patch is encoded with a frequency. What is that frequency, and how does it interact with the nervous system? So if we look at pain, so pain is generally the blockage of electrical flow to a given body to determine that there's some form of damage, which creates an inflammatory cytokine response that your agents will cause an inflammatory result. And then the mechanism of healing will be issued forward from the body, and there's a whole bunch of biochemical processes.
There you go.
Ultimately the swelling goes down, and the repair entities inside of the body repair that tissue, and then it goes back. However, in the state of pain, or chronic pain particularly, there is either a continuous stimulus of that pain, or there's a disruption, a malfunction in the communication system to the brain, where you are getting pain. It's either an indication that there is something wrong, or it's a false signal that you've just been overstimulated for whatever reason. There's a variety of things that can cause that. So with your technology, with this frequency, what area is it addressing? Is it addressing chronic pain? Is it or initial pain? Like, I cut my finger, do I put this patch on it? Does it reduce the pain? Or I've got lower back pain that's been bogging me for 25 years. I put a patch on it, it reduces that. How does it work? And when does it work, or what is it utilized best for?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And it's really all over the board. But I will say that most people that have chronic pain are the ones who really show the most, see the biggest difference. And so, for example, was one woman I met. She was a card dealer at a casino, right? And so she was using this repetitive motion for 20 years. And she said for the last 10 years, she couldn't lift her arm up because of that pain in her shoulder. And she literally applied this patch at a conference we were at. And she came back an hour later and she goes, "Oh my gosh." She goes, "This is amazing." She goes, "I literally have not been able to lift my arm for 10 years. She said, "This is the most incredible thing." She went home that night, was able to sleep for the first time because, when she was sleeping, it always hurt her. So she'd roll over and it would hurt and she'd wake up. And she said that the best sleep she'd had in years, because it had helped deal with whatever, like you mentioned, that chronic pain. Maybe it was, a disruption or something that like you had mentioned, that she had, and our system just, took away that in between message. And I'm not sure how that works, but I do know that it is helping people. But we do have people who will say, "Hey, I fell off a ladder and I hurt my knee and it was killing me. And I put the patch on and the pain went away." So we get kind of both, but I would say it's more effective on people with chronic issues and chronic pains. They're seeing the benefit, more so than if I cut my finger and it's actively bleeding.
So there's a lot of companies out there that are advertising quantum technology, and I don't know if you know how, if you can share or are willing to share, like how these frequencies are embedded into this patch. And then secondary thing is, you talked about, I think, biblical scriptures also being embedded somehow in this code. Does that amplify the results, or does it?
Yeah, there's two ways from a faith-based perspective that I like to look at it. Is, yes, we do include in the coding of the solution, and it is a proprietary encoding process. But that coding process includes the intentions to solve the problem, and includes Bible verses that are related to the particular problem. And then we encode that frequency onto the ink. And we encode that message onto the ink. And that's one faith-based aspect. And then what we do with all of our products is we include a prayer guide with it. Because what we want to do is have people utilize their multiple senses. We want them to use their eyes, their ears, and their mouth to read the prayer out loud. So you're talking about your pain. We have a Monday one, for example. It says, "Thank you, Father, for knowing I need you and coming to rescue and deliver me from this pain." Then we have a Bible verse that they say, or two, and it just takes a minute or two for them to say that. They apply the patch. And then, it's our intention that they're praying to the Lord to help them as well, right? He's the ultimate healer, in my humble opinion, and he could heal them without any medication, right? And so if he does that, fantastic. That's even better. But we're trying to have people have that conversation, as well as including those Bible verses in our product. Does that make sense?
Well, there's an interesting tradition in Eastern philosophy. So I'm a student of various religious texts.
I like it.
I like to see the commonalities behind it. And,
right.
One of the practices with some of the Hindu mystics is oftentimes the more advanced healer or guru or teacher will ask a student or request of a student who's going through some sort of situation, and will, give them some sort of what they call a mantra, which would be the equivalent of a prayer, and will maybe use some sort of device or some sort of activity. It might be an oil, it might be a charm, it might be something like that, to leverage as a focal point and give them some sort of ritualistic instruction. So what are we doing here? So we're creating, and the mechanics of it, is my understanding, is that we are creating an external focal point from the pain itself. And we're inviting a potential possibility of an outside source coming in superior to that which is causing the disruptive nature. And then there is a repetitive process, so that pain is a repetitive process. You need kind of almost like a counterbalancing effect. Now, science will sometimes say, well, that's the, they'll say, what's the word that we're looking for? It's anecdotal evidence, or it's the placebo effect. But I'm like, okay, well, we know that a great number of the medicines that are being advocated for actually don't even outperform placebo effects.
Right, that's true.
Or barely more than that. And my question is not so much because the placebo effect, for example, is very well documented, and like I said, is oftentimes has almost similar results than the actual medication. So my question is like, how does that, like, we're not denying these placebo effects. What are the mechanics around there? And do you think that the areas of the patch, the frequency, and the prayers are creating kind of like it's kind of like the combinations and eliciting a placebo effect? Or do you think there is actually that the technology itself is the driver of that? Or is it some combination of both?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think that the technology definitely works in and of itself, because there's people who don't pray, right? People who don't know that there's an intention on it. They don't know that there's Bible verses on the patch, and they receive one of these patches and they apply it to their body and it helps. So that we've had hundreds of people where that's helped. And so the technology does work. And I questioned it at the beginning as well, right? I'm like, oh, come on, you're going to help me with this little patch, and it's going to put it on my body, and it's going to help me how, right? And that's most people's reaction when they first are introduced to it. But I've just seen so many people that it's helped that I know that the product does work. However, what I am doing is trying to add all of what you did say. I want to add all of the mechanisms that I can to help people. I know that positive intentions have an impact on the physical body, right? You do research on Dr. Emoto and his experiments with water and rice, right? You can literally see a physical impact that intentions and prayers have on a physical item. And so I know that works. And so why not enhance people's success rate? And so what I see is with the prayer guide and the positive intentions that you're stating and doing it out loud and using multiple senses, that we're just amplifying the success rates of the product. And so that's what we, that's my answer. Does that make sense?
Well, if we go back to the 1927 Copenhagen conference that had all of the great scientists of the world at that time in physics, where the Newtonian paradigm was in debate with the quantum field, which spawned the most famous saying of Albert Einstein, who suggested that God does not play dice. And the idea that was put forth by Planck and Heisenberg and some of these great physicists, and I'm a bit of a physics buff.
I love it.
They talked about the quantum potential, the quantum field, and so that all potentials exist in a superimposed state. And the most famous discussion of this is, I believe it was Schrodinger's cat. So he was another physicist, and so the idea would be that there's an infinite field of potential, of all potential possibilities existing, not as a condensed state of what we call physical reality, but as in a potential possible aspect. And you can assign percentages of likelihoods to this, and through the intensity of focus and the energy of the wave, the collapse of the wave function, which is written out by the Dirac equation, would cause the emergence of this phenomenon in the world as we see it. Now, the Newtonian paradigm, folks, which we've built most of our physical models of, is the classic billiard balls. You hit billiard ball A, goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to D. So it's a logistical progression. No one knows who hit the first billiard ball.
Right.
But there's a progression of movements which you can detect through the Newtonian paradigms of body stays in motion, all that sort of Newton's first laws. And that creates a deterministic mechanical model of the universe where the quantum is talking about potentials and possible outcomes. Now, people in the metaphysical side of the world lean more towards the quantum side of the equation that, as illustrated in, say, Great Face, all things are possible in the Lord is a great
there you go. Yeah.
Right. It's a common reference point. And, in science, they say, well, in God we trust, but everything else we need proof. and the decision that came out of that was why, and I'm going to circle around for our listeners on this one, why people felt that Einstein limited his paradigm was specific to when he said God doesn't play dice. The quantum folks recognized that the act of observing a phenomenon changed the outcome. And this has been proven over and over and over, even going backwards in time to a random probability generator. By looking at data that's already been done in past, you can actually change the outcome of the past. And then that's when you really start getting wacky.
Yeah.
Quantum equation. For those who want to dive into that, I would refer to David Boehm. And if you're in the physics side, you can also refer to Dr. David Hawkins and his books, where he tries to explain the differences of quantum potential and the Newtonian paradigm relative to spiritual understanding or consciousness awareness. So I think it's safe to say that the linear, proof-oriented Newtonian paradigm people who make up a large part of the scientific community and where most of the research today would probably poo-poo this idea.
Right.
You have a whole host of people who have found relief from pain outside of the products and services produced by this same industry who's poo-pooing this. And so that leads us to the next question. So what is the individual to do with this whole quantum energy? Who is it for? And why should somebody try it?
Yeah, well, the great news is you can try it, and if it doesn't work, send it back, and we'll give you your money back, right? So you just try it. There's no reason not to try it, and if it helps you, then guess what? You're doing it with 100% all natural solution. It has no drugs. You're not intaking anything that has side effects to your body, and so it's like, why would you not try something that could help you that has zero side effects, right? So that's in my estimation, like, why wouldn't you try this? If it doesn't help, it's not going to hurt you, and we'll give you your money back even. So you're not out anything other than, hey, let me see if this works, and if it works, then fantastic. It's a lot better alternative than taking a drug that has potential side effects and or potential problems. So that's kind of the way we look at it is, hey, why not, right? Give it a shot. We're not guaranteeing it's going to work, but we do have hundreds and hundreds of people who it has worked for, and they keep coming back and buying other products and other solutions from us. And we're just super excited because it's having a real impact on people, and that's literally my heart. I want to help people, and so that's our mission.
So in regards to that, so what we talked about primarily is people who are dealing with chronic pain, which certainly is a large percentage of the population. What are some of the other offerings that you're talking about in regards to this, and how have you used any research where you're actually producing results and been able to demonstrate that in double-blind studies or anything like that, or research-oriented stuff, or is it mostly anecdotal evidence of people just experiencing good things and sharing it with other people?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's like we're such a small company and such a new company that we don't have the funding to do the double-blinded studies. So I would love to figure out a way to get that done and do that, because it'd be fascinating to see the difference. But we just have been using it, and we have hundreds of people that are using it, and the evidence we're getting from them is it's helping. And so that just encourages us more to help other people. And so I think that's the way that I'm looking at it. We have a number of different products. We have 14 different solutions in total. Like I said, pain is easy because it's like, hey, I know if I'm in pain or not. Another one that's pretty easy is our allergy relief one too. You know, when it's allergy season, if your eyes are watering and your nose is running and you have allergies, you apply the patch. If it helps you, great. And or if you apply the patch before you go out into the grass, and all of a sudden you can be in the grass and not have a problem, you know, that really shows you that it works. And I think the allergy relief one is probably our most effective product in the respect that the majority of people who have used it, who have allergies, come back and are like raving that they are off of their medication. They haven't had to take Claritin D, you know, forever. So it's really cool to see that where we're getting people relief, where all they have to do is apply a skin patch to their body, and they don't have to buy a drug that either makes them tired or drowsy or have a difficult time throughout the day. So, but we, you know, so have a brain fog one that with COVID, that was one of the biggest side effects of just anybody who got COVID. You know, I got COVID, and you know, and one of the biggest side effects of not side effects, but I guess one of the after effects of having COVID is brain fog, and that's pretty well documented. And we have a product called Clarity and Focus that just helps people with reduce their brain fog. So that's another one. An anti-anxiety one is another one, like you had mentioned. A lot of one of the big problems in our society is with people that are taking those drugs, and our anti-anxiety one works pretty well too. Just calms people down and gets them thinking positive things rather than negative things. And that's been a popular one. We even have a pet product that I love. We have a brand called My Peppy Pet, and we combine our strength and stamina product with our pain relief product for pets, and we have a little pet tag that you can put on the pets, like this little example of the cat, the pet tag, and we put the skin patch on the opposite side of the tag, and it connects to the animal's energy field. And that's been phenomenal. We've got people that say, hey, my dog, he grabs my product and he just puts it on his bed because he wants to sleep with it. You know, that was before we designed the pet tag. And so that's been a phenomenal product.
So how long do these patches last? You put one on and that's good forever, or do you got to replace them? Like how long?
Yeah, they only last a couple of days. We say they last 2 days, but in reality, the ink, as soon as the ink falls off, then it's gone. So, and it typically, you know, I sweat a lot and I take a shower a lot because I exercise quite often. So it lasts a day for me typically. And most people, they can get it to last a couple of days. And so we say the average is 2 days, because some will even elongate it. We'll put a Band-Aid over the top of it when they take a shower or something like that, so it doesn't get wet, and that they can make it last for 3 or 4 days instead of 2. So we just say the average is a couple of days.
Got it. And so how do people find out more? Where do they go to find out about this equipment, or get used to it, or get access to it, or try it out? What's the whole story behind that?
Yeah, sounds great. So the simplest way is just to go to our website, QEstrong.com. So QE for quantum energy, and QEstrong.com. And you can look at our different products we have there, and you can look at the hundreds of reviews that we have. We have a bunch of video testimonials. We have lots of written testimonials, and they're literally real people that are writing those. Those are not fake reviews, and it's just phenomenal to see how it is helping people, and we have a big heart. We're trying to help people and do that in a cost-effective way. So we have discount codes on there. In fact, we have a discount code for you guys for having us on your show. We really appreciate that. So any of your listeners want to use that code, Bioptimizers with an S, use that code on checkout and give them additional 15% off. So we have different discounts. We sell them in 1 box, 3 box, or 6 box packs. So like here's a box, right? And you get 14 skin patches in a box. and it lasts you about a month. You buy more boxes, you get a reduced rate. And then at the end, when you're checking out, use the coupon code Bioptimizers and you get additional 15% off of that. So that's the best way to do it.
That's a great deal. Anything else? Or you guys got a website people can follow along as you're sharing information? Or
yeah, one of the things that we've just started is I think, thank you for asking, is just started a newsletter, right? So this newsletter is free. It's just it's My Faith and Health, right? Obviously, you can tell faith is really important to me as a person, and just being healthy is important to me as a person. So I've been doing a lot of research the last year and a half on a lot of the biohacking, capabilities of the human body and how to help people. And so we're just trying to help people with their faith and with their health. And then we showcase a mighty man and a majestic woman in our newsletter. So we're trying to showcase people who are really trying to help people in the world, and we want to educate people on not something that's healthy and something that's dealing with faith, and showcase some cool people along the way. So that's easy. Just go myfaithandhealth.com. Super easy. myfaithandhealth.com. Sign up to that free newsletter, and you'll get once a week you'll get some awesome information. So,
well, there you have it, folks. Rob Rene has joined us today, and he's talked about quantum energy, how it could alleviate very life situations around pain, potential allergies, and other areas of life that are causing you distress. And he's got a risk-free opportunity for you if you want to try it out. And I'm all about risk-free opportunities.
Yeah.
I love it. I like the fact that people have that outcome and they can give it a shot. And I'm sure there are people listening here today that will probably find some relief from your products. And hey, not sure how it all works, but if it does, as they say, I don't know what's working, but just keep doing it. And that's what a great doctor will always say when you have something that's working for them. So I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us today on the Awesome Health Podcast as we dive into quantum energy and its potential to help you live your healthiest life. I'm Wade T. Lightheart from everyone here at Bioptimizers. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
And now for a Bioptimizers fixed digestion tip: how to get away with eating sugar. Hey, look, sugar is normally one of the worst things for you. But let's be honest. I mean, we all cheat from time to time. And here's a little trick that will ensure your body benefits from the sugar. Now, before you eat or drink anything sweet, take 5 to 8 capsules of P3OM. The patented strain in the formula devours sugar so fast, it literally doubles in the body every 20 minutes in the presence of sugar. That doesn't mean that you can or you should eat a bunch of sugar or sit around all day doing that. But on the days that you do cheat, or you go after one of those maybe meals that you wouldn't normally do, this ensures that you get something in your gut that eats the sugar. And it's not going to feed the bad guys or spike your blood glucose nearly as much. So to learn more about P3OM and its sugar-devouring and protein-digesting properties and how it can transform your gut and metabolism, go to www.bioptimizers.com.
Thank you for listening to the Bioptimizers Awesome Health Podcast. You can find more information at bioptimizers.com.